Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started now. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the new look of AQ360 Basic Webinar. My name is Anthony Manzano, and I will be hosting today's presentation. Also joining me today is Willie Walker, and he will be helping me with today's webinar. We're glad to see you all here today. We know that your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending it with us. Just to let you know a little bit more about AutoQuotes, we have been in business for over 20 years. We have over 600 manufacturers that publish over 500,000 products in our catalog, and we have approximately 30,000 subscribers that use AutoQuotes. Now, the purpose of today's webinar is to demonstrate how to use the most basic features of the new look of AQ360. During the webinar, all attendees will be muted, and at the end, we will have a question and answer session. You will have the opportunity to raise your hand, and we'll select you and unmute you, and you can ask your question. Or if you feel more comfortable using the chat feature, both located in the Go-To Training control panel. By the way, you can detach those little windows to expand them. For example, like the chat window, you can expand it out so you can see any information that's chatted in there. And I also went ahead and put our contact information on here. In addition to that, on our website, we do post our webinars on our website there, webinars on demand. At any time, you can go and watch any of these webinars that we host for the basic, advanced, and some other ones that we have on there. Let me go ahead and remove this on the screen. Now, when you first run the AutoQuotes, you do get the login screen. So you do have a Remember Me feature on here. But if you ever forget your password, for example, you want to install it at home or on a new computer, whatever, you can select the Forgot Your Password feature. When you click on that, it will send you an email with your login information. And on the screen, you can also change the password right on here. So now the new look of 360 is pretty much designed after the classic 360. We wanted to maintain the same look where you have the filters section on the left side of the screen. You have the project listing in the center and the details panel on the right side. Also, we've changed the different sections of AutoQuotes that are now located at the very bottom of the screen here. We're going to come back to this section in a little while and go through a little bit more details. But for now, what we're going to do is jump right in and create a project. And you do that by clicking on the New button. Now, you can call your project whatever you like. And here you can add your customer or contact. Now, when you start writing in the name of your customer, it's going to give you results based on what you currently have on the contacts section. So let's suppose this is a new customer, and your customer is not listed. It says no contacts found. What you can do at this point is you can actually add your customer to the project, and it'll also add it to the contacts at the same time by hitting the Enter key on your keyboard. And this will bring up the name and address of a new person and company. And you can simply fill out the information for this company, address and everything else. And when you click on OK, not only did you add it to your project, you also added it to your contact list at the same time. So if you ever need that customer again, they'll be in there and you'll be able to search for it. So now we're on our blank spreadsheet here. And up on top, we have all the different buttons for the different functions that you can do in AutoQuotes. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a few searches and add a few items to our spreadsheet. Now, the most popular search is by model number. So if you know what you're looking for, you can simply type in the model number. And you'll notice that this model number has dashes. I did not have to include the dashes on my search. And also a new feature for the new look is that when you're doing a search, it now loads the catalog right over the spreadsheet. And not just a quick item search. You actually have the full catalog here where you have the filters on the left, your items in the center area, and the details panel on the right side. And you notice that the items now have a configure button. This configure button means that these items have options and accessories that you have to select before you can add them to a spreadsheet. So what I want to do is before we add the item, I want to go through a few details here of the details panel here on the right side. Starting from the top, you have the manufacturer. And if you click on this logo, it will take you to the manufacturer website, followed by the spec for this item, which is the same information you find here listed in the middle. And you have documents. Now, different items have different documents. This particular one has a spec sheet, warranty sheets, installation, and even the plumbing rough. And let's say your customer needed the plumbing roughing for this item. By simply clicking on that item, you'll get the PDF for that item, and you can either save it, print it, or even email it to your customer. Okay, and then followed by that, you have additional details. Now, AutoQuotes only publishes list pricing, but I have a discount set up for this manufacturer, so as a result, it's going to show me the net pricing. Okay, so AutoQuotes only publishes list prices, and if you insert the discount, it will also display the net pricing for this item. Now, at the very bottom here, this is displaying the cut sheet for this particular item, and you do have left and right arrows to display any additional images. In this case, it's the actual image for this item. This image, you can copy it, or you can actually save it if you have to have a need to save the image file, maybe for an email or anything, or you can copy and paste it to whoever you like. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add this item to the catalog. I'm going to click on the Configure button, and then that'll give you a chance to select your options and accessories, and simply click on here what you need. When you're done, we're going to add it to the project by clicking on the Project button down here at the bottom right corner. And this is the quantity prompt that will ask you any additional information. Probably maybe you wanted to change the quantity or make any changes on here. If not, you can just click on OK. And now you have the first item on the spreadsheet. Now we're going to go ahead and do another search by model number. And this particular model number is used by many manufacturers. As you can see on here, you have the filters, you have the manufacturers, and all the other categories on here. You can, of course, click on any of these filters on here to sort out your search. But what I'm going to do is, instead of doing that, I'm going to put a space, and I'm going to put a manufacturer name or even a partial manufacturer name. And this is what I was looking for, this popcorn popper on here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the Configure button. Again, do your options and accessories, and click on the Project button to add it to the project. So now we've added a couple items. I'm going to do another search. Now this time I'm going to do a search by category and manufacturer. So let's suppose I'm looking for a gas combi. And again, at this point, you can use the manufacturer filter or the brand filter or any subcategories you want to. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a space and put a partial manufacturer name. And AutoQuotes is smart enough to know that I'm looking for this particular manufacturer. And let's say you wanted to use the category. Let's say you wanted a half size. If you click on that, it's only going to display the half size units. And you'll notice it has a little arrow. If you don't want to, the half size, say you want to go back again, you can simply click on that, and it'll go back one step. Say maybe you wanted the full size, okay? And that's the way the filters work. It's a click on and click off feature where you click on the arrow to take you back one step. So this is the particular range I was looking for, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on Configure. And again, I'm going to select my options and accessories, and I'm going to add it to the project. So now, again, you get the quantity prompt. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and tell it not to show this. I don't want to see this pop up anymore, and I'm just going to tell it not to, and I'm going to click OK. And now we have 3 items on our project. Now we're going to do one more search. It's going to be the last one, and this is going to be for brands or pattern name. So now this is what I was looking for, these small words. And you'll notice that with these small words like glasses and other items, right from here you have the cart or project selections. You do not have the Configure button. And this is because these small words don't have any options and accessories. So from this point, you can go ahead and add it directly to the project. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to add it to the cart instead, because I've been showing you how to add to the project. So now I'm going to add a few items to the cart. You'll notice that when I click on that, it says cart and with a number value next to it. And down at the bottom left corner here, you see that my cart is starting to populate at the bottom here. So you can come through here and add all the items you want to the cart. You'll notice that these items here, when you click on the different items, you have the catalog page here on the right-hand side. If you click on that catalog page, it'll open up a full-color catalog page that you can then print it out, you can save it, or even email it to your customer if you want to. Okay, so I'm just going to add a few items at random here to the cart, and I'm going to use my filters over here. I'm going to click on beer glass, and I want the jumbo glass. I want the big one. Okay, so I'm going to add that to my cart. So now I'm going to go back one step. And again, the beer glass, I'm going to go back, and let's say I want some wine glasses now. I'm going to come in here and just select a few of these just at random to add to my cart. I just want to populate this here. And the whole purpose of the cart feature is just like shopping online, where you add your items to the cart, and when you're ready to check out, it's the same thing. When you're adding items to the cart here, it enables you to stay in the catalog and continue adding items to your cart, so you don't have to be going back and forth from the spreadsheet back into the catalog. When you're done, you click on the button that says Add to Project, and now all of these items have been added to my project. So as you can see, in just a few minutes, I've added a few items to my spreadsheet. So now, you'll probably notice that there's no totals or anything on here, and there is a details panel. I'll have the details panel hidden, but you can display it with the little I button here in the upper left-hand corner, and it has the details for this particular project. And starting from the top is the name of the project. You can change anything here, your customer, and your totals on here. This is showing the merchandise total and all the totals for this project. So let's say I'm ready to send this to my customer. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the print button. Now, what we've done in the New Look of 360 is that since 80% of our users select the quote report, we're going to automatically go into the quote report. So that's what happens now. When you print, it goes to the quote report. And if you wanted to switch to any other report, they're listed right on top here. By simply just clicking on any of these other reports, it'll switch to that particular report. Now, the quote report, just like all the other ones, has their own specific options. The options are found here on the right side panel. And these are sticky options, which means that if you make a change, it's going to remember that, and next time you print a quote, it's going to keep that. For example, I like pictures on my quotes. I have no pictures here. You'll notice here on the right side, you have thumbnails. You make the selection, and make sure to hit the Save and Refresh button down at the bottom here. Save and Refresh makes any changes that you make to the options effective. Now, I suggest that if you're going to switch around the options, don't make too many changes at once, because if you get undesired results, you might not know what exactly you changed. So I selected thumbnails and hit refresh, and you'll notice now that I have my pictures on here. In addition to that, you have other options on here, like, for example, you might want to include the spec sheets. The spec sheets are here, and you have some additional options. And down at the very bottom, you have Show More. So if you click on that, you actually have more options that span further than the size of your screen, so you would have to scroll through those. So now that I have my pictures on here, my quote looks good, I'm ready to send it to my customer. And to do that, you click on the email button, and you have two selections here. You have email PDF or PDF with project. And the PDF with project is just that. It means that you're going to email this person not only the PDF for the quote, but the actual project file. And if they have auto quotes, they'll be able to import that project file into their auto quotes. So make sure that if you send this to somebody, you intended for them to have it, because they will be able to see the information on your project, for example, your discounts, any markups, and any sensitive information that you might not want them to otherwise see. So we're going to go ahead and click on PDF. And what this does is going to create a new email, and it's going to send the link to your customer. Okay, your customer will then click on this link, and they'll be able to download the file directly to their computer. Now, in order to email from AutoQuotes does not come with an email program, so you do need to have like Microsoft Outlook installed, or possibly Thunderbird, or some email client installed locally on your computer. AutoQuotes does not support like online emails like Yahoo or Gmail or anything like that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit X to get out of here. Now, on my project here, I have a logo. This is an administrative logo, so if you're an admin, or you may want to ask your admin to insert a logo, and if they have an admin logo, it'll automatically show on all the reports for everybody in your organization. But let's suppose you need to get this out you don't have a logo on here, you can insert a logo right on top here. There's a logo button. You can select your logo, and it will show on here. But again, if the administrator inserts one on here, it'll automatically show on here. And you can also do additional things. You can change the addresses. If you click on here, you can change the to and from and any information that's showing on here. And here on the fields to print, you can even pick and choose what information you want to show on here. Also on here, you have a font button. So if you wanted to change the colors of the fonts or anything on there, you can use that as well. Now, I had mentioned about changing reports. It's simply just click on another report. Like, for example, maybe you want a flyer report. So here's my flyer report with all my pictures and everything. And this report has its own individual options here on the right-hand side. Okay? So once I'm done, I can go ahead and I can exit from here. And it brings me back to my spreadsheet. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit Save and Close. And I just saved that project. And now it's listed as my first one. Now, the reason that the project is listed first is by default, AutoQuotes sorts it by modified date. And the reason we do that is so that all your current projects that you're currently working on are on top here and easy to find. You can, of course, click on any of these columns if you wanted to sort it by that column, or you can do a search if you want to. Now, you'll notice that one of the new features when we move the mouse cursor up and down is you have these icons on the left side of the project. And we're going to go through these. The first one on here is to open. So if you click on that, you're actually opening this project. And you can, of course, double-click on the name. Does the same thing, open the project. The next one here is print. You can actually click on here and print the project right from the screen here. You don't need to open the project to actually print it out. And the next one here is create a duplicate project. So if you click on that, it's going to actually create a copy of this project for whatever reason. Maybe you want to leave the original one intact and make a copy of it. And right here, the copy is, of course, since it's the newest project, it's going to be listed on top here. Now, besides the icons that we have next to it, we also have some right-click functionalities on here. If you right-mouse click over a project, you can open it from here. You can create a new project. You can change the project status, create a duplicate. You can even convert this project into Spanish. If you click on that, it's going to let you know that it's going to make a copy of this project and convert it into Spanish. So if you have a need to do a translation of a project into Spanish, that's the way you do it right on here. And you'll notice that it says the name of the project in Espanol. And if you open it up, it is fully in Spanish with all the spec descriptions and everything on there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to the left side of the screen here. And this is the filters section. Now, on the filter section, you can use it to do different functionalities. For example, right now it's showing my projects. By default, it does go to all projects, but there is a way to go to only my projects, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But you can use the filters for different functionalities. For example, let's say you wanted to find all of the projects you've made for a particular customer. If you come in here, for example, I want to see connect equipment. And right on here, it's going to display all of those projects that have been made for Connect equipment. So this is a quick way to filter out those projects for a particular customer. To clear the filter, you can simply click on here, or you can click on the X. Another feature of the filter is, say you want to find all the projects that have been made for a particular manufacturer. If you click on there, it's now going to show you all of those projects that have at least one item for this particular manufacturer. And again, to clear the filter, you can just click on here or click on the X button to clear it out. So we have a few more filters on here. Very simple to use. You even have some custom filters that you can create your own. Now I'm going to jump over to the far right side of the screen, the Details panel. Now, this Details panel is the same Details panel that you see within a project spreadsheet, and by default, it is viewable, but you can hide it if you have a need to hide it. You do have the Toggle Details button up here in the upper left corner. If you click on that, it'll hide or display this Details panel. And you can do anything on the project on here, like, for example, if you needed to change the project name, You have your contacts here. You can add more customers to your contacts, to your project here, either by selecting them or adding them on the fly like we did. You have the total section, settings, and some other sections. We do cover this a little bit more in detail in the advanced webinar, but you can collapse or expand these different sections with a little arrow. In addition to that, you can actually edit. If you click on this edit button on the far right corner, you can actually edit what information is displayed on the details panel here. Say if you wanted to show memo or not show the memo, the settings, you can actually pick and choose what you want, and you can move it up and down to display in whatever order you like to, okay? So it is completely configurable, the details panel, both here on the main page and while you're inside of a project spreadsheet. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is right above the details panel, you see my name here. Now, it's going to show your name or the name of the person that it's registered to. If you click on this name, it's going to show you the user settings, the specific user settings that are particular to you. Now, these settings, for example, I have on here the sales tax of 7%. That means that every time I create a project, it's going to automatically insert the 7% sales tax. And if you notice here in the details panel highlighted on one of my projects, you see my sales tax right on here. Now, if you do insert a sales tax, for example, it's not going to affect your existing projects. It's only going to be from this moment forward, okay? So it's not retroactive. It's just going to apply from now on to any new projects if you make a change like that. In addition to that, you have other things that you can set up here. Perhaps you want to show your discounts as a percent or maybe a multiplier or a compound, and you can select that on here where it'll automatically display in that fashion. And right here is where you have the show my projects only. As I mentioned earlier, when you first open AutoQuotes, it defaults to all projects, but if you don't want to see all projects and only see your own projects, you can click on show my projects only. You can also tell AutoQuotes to start up in the catalog. If you make this selection, when you enter AutoQuotes, it'll automatically go directly into the catalog. Okay. So now I'm going to jump over here to the top here to a few of these tabs. This is your standard greeting and your standard footnote. So everybody has the option to have their own default greeting and their own default footnote. Now, these default greetings and footnotes are only yours and only apply to any reports that you print, any quotes or any reports. It's only going to show on your very own reports and nobody else's. So you do have the standard greeting and footnote, and then you also have shared greetings and shared footnotes. Now, these shared greetings and footnotes apply to everybody in the company. Everybody has access to them. Anybody can edit them. And later on, when we go back into the spreadsheet, I'm going to show you how to use these shared greetings and shared footnotes on here. And these are to be used on a per project basis. The shared greetings and footnotes don't automatically get inserted into a project. You have to actually manually select them as you need them. So I'm going to jump over to the very end here, the share your projects. You can select who you share your projects with. For example, I'm only sharing my projects with a few people, with Jonathan and Willie. Let's say I needed to share it with everybody here. I can simply make my selections, or if you want, you can use the select all button, and it'll pick all the users. Now, if your company's tied in with another company, maybe you have various locations, and here at AutoQuotes, we can have all these companies linked together. If you do that, you have the show sister companies, and what this enables you to do is to share your project with the other locations. For example, this company here is Connect Equipment, but I also have it tied in with Anthony's Paninis. So I can actually share my projects with my sister location right on here. And of course, this is something that we have to set up for you here on AutoQuotes. So you can simply make your selections here, and whenever you make any other changes here in the user settings, make sure to select OK to save your changes. So now I'm going to jump down to the very bottom of the screen here. We're currently in the main page, or the project section. I'm going to jump over to the catalog section. Now the catalog section has, when you first come in here, important information like any new manufacturers that we have, any new prices that have gone effective and what dates, or any price changes right on here. Now, you can come directly into the catalog. Say you wanted to just search around the catalog. You can absolutely do that. But let's suppose you come across something that you wanted to use in a project. You can actually start a project right from here. Now, I'm not actually going to do that, but if you're in the catalog and you want to start a project, that you find what you're looking for, you can actually click on here, and you can actually start a new project directly from the catalog. Okay, I just wanted to point that out to you. The next one here is the contact section. Now, AutoQuotes comes with a lot of contacts, mainly the manufacturers that publish in our catalog or other AutoQuotes users that want to have their information published in the contacts. You can, of course, add all the contacts you want, either directly into the contact section or adding them on the fly, the way I showed you when we first created a project. Now, we do have some other sections on here, and these are permission-based areas. Okay, the manufacturer setup and the history and the admin setup are permission-based. So if you don't have the permissions to come in here, or if you're not an admin, you won't see these different areas. And we do cover these areas a little bit more in the administrative webinar and also the advanced webinar. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and jump back to the project section. And what I'm going to do is I have a customer that called me, and I've been working on a quote already a few months ago. They called me back, and they want to move forward with this project. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up that project. And the first thing I notice when I open my project, it has a lot of red areas on it. What does that red area mean? Well, if you highlight it with the mouse cursor, it tells you exactly what it is. It tells you that the discount is different than the discount setup. It tells you that the list price is different, and even the spec. So anything that you see in red means it's outdated in comparison to the configuration and the catalog. So you can click on here and update this. But if it's a big project and you have a lot of items, you don't want to come here and be clicking on every single one of these one at a time. So what you can do is you can actually highlight all of the items by using the Control-A button. Control-A highlights all items, and then you can right mouse click, and you can say Update from Catalog, and you can just say All, and you'll notice now that it updated everything on my spreadsheet. You now have nothing in red, and everything's been updated in comparison to what the information is in the system. Now, since I did a right mouse click on here, I'll go back to the right mouse click and talk about this a little bit. You have a lot of right mouse click features on here, and for example, you have the note and the comment. Now, most of these selections that you have in the right mouse click selection, you also have them up on the ribbon on top here. Notice you have note and comment, just like on here. You have the edit line item, delete. You can even copy and cut items, and you also can do that on here. On the top here, you can copy items or cut items. So most of these selections in the right mouse click are also found on top here. Now, the right mouse click selections that we've put on here are now more intuitive and context sensitive, and allows your eyes to stay focused on the item. For example, let's say I wanted to add a note to this. I click on note, and there's my note. So you can use the right mouse click function or just click on note. I also can add a comment. Let's say if I added a comment. Now, a comment created its own line item. So that's the difference between a note and a comment, that the note attaches to a particular item, where a comment creates its own line item down here. Now, you can also do other functionality like spare number. If you click on spare number, it's going to insert a spare number. Now, why would you use a spare number? Basically, it's just a placeholder. For whatever reason, maybe you want to reserve this spot for an item. You're not sure what it's going to go on here, but you know you want it next to another item. So you can insert a spare number, and it's a placeholder, and it'll create its own line item. Now, you'll notice that every time I add a new item, either from the catalog or a note or a comment, whatever, it always goes to the bottom here. Now, the reason it goes to the bottom is because of the insertion point. Up on top here, the default is to insert as last, but maybe you want to insert it below the current line or above the current line. And what this does, it allows you to insert items in different areas of the spreadsheet instead of all the way to the bottom, or maybe you want to rearrange items. For example, we're going to select Insert Above the Current Line, and I'm going to go to item number 2 here. And just to make it quick, I'm going to click on spare number. And you'll see that the spare number was now inserted above the line as I selected instead of all the way to the bottom. So using the insertion point, it allows you to facilitate you moving around items, maybe copying, pasting, or completely inserting them in a different place. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back here and I'm going to select Insert as Last. Now you can also insert custom items. There's a custom item button right up here. If you click on that, a custom item is an item that doesn't exist in the catalog and you can actually add it to your project. Now it does default to custom. You can select any manufacturer that's currently in auto quotes. If it's not in auto quotes, let's say it's a manufacturer that doesn't exist in auto quotes at all and you want to add some items. Well, you can do that, but first you must add the manufacturer to the system, either a manufacturer setup or in the catalog. For example, I have here Anthony's Junk. So I can select that at manufacturer because I already inserted it on here. And then you would fill out the information. For the category, you have a long list of categories on here. But if you want to make a category that's not on the list on here, you can absolutely do that. For example, I'm going to make the blah blah category on here. And notice that it'll accept it as a valid category. And fill out the rest of the information. You do need to have category and a spec on here, a spec description. You also have a pricing tab, so you can add a pricing to that. And you also have a media tab. You can add a spec sheet and a picture. So let's say you want to add a picture for this item. Select your picture on here. And when you say OK, it will insert this item, and you'll see it right down here at the bottom of my spreadsheet, again, because my insertion point is set to last. Okay? So now I get a lot of people asking me, where are the hotkeys? Where are the hotkeys in the new look of 360? We've made things a little bit different in the new look. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the I button here to display the details panel. Now the hotkeys are now listed in the details panel, and by default I believe they're hidden, so you have to insert them on here, and you do that by clicking on the edit button. Right on here, you see hotkeys is selected on here, and you can either you can move it up and down wherever you would like it to be. And the way it works now, it's basically on the details panel. You cannot select it on here, but it gives you a list of the different hotkeys. So this is where the hotkeys are now to be used with the combination of your control with the keyboard functions on that. We've also added the undo and redo button. For example, my custom item, watch when I hit undo, my custom item disappeared. So if I hit redo, it'll put it back on there. So we've been having a lot of people asking about the undo and redo button, and finally at last we have the undo and redo button back in auto quotes. Now you can do other functionality like moving items around. If you select an item, right on here, you can use the move up and move down arrows, and you'll see the item, how it moves. Now notice I'm going to select an item that has accessories. For example, item number 1. When you move an item that has accessories, it takes the accessories with it. So you don't have to highlight the entire section. You can just highlight the one item, and when you move it up and down, it takes all the accessories with it. Okay? And also you can cut and paste, copy and paste, and you can do that right here, copy item or cut item. In addition to that, you also can do it on the right mouse click. So you can right mouse click, copy or cut item. If you copy item, you can right mouse click, and if you paste the item, it'll now paste that item. And notice it put it at the bottom again because of the insertion point. Now let's say you have an item you want to reconfigure. For example, you want to change the options and accessories on here. If you highlight the item, you can click on the configure button, and right over the spreadsheet, it lets you make your selections. So you can come in here and make whatever selections you wanted to. When you're done reconfiguring your item, you click configure, and it'll apply those changes right on there. So you can reconfigure an item even after it's been inserted on the spreadsheet. In addition to that, on the right mouse click, you can also change the item status. You can come in here and select active, inactive, alternate, optional, and incomplete. Now by default, all the items are active. So if you wanted to change, you simply right click and select what the status you want. And you also have a status button on the top here. If you click on it, it scrolls through all the items, selections, and eventually goes back to active. So if you click on it, it just goes through the list and maybe perhaps you wanted to present this as an alternate item, and this is how you would do that, by changing the status. Now, some of the new features that we have, I'm going to go ahead and hide the details panel for now, is on the columns. We have some functionality directly on the columns. For example, you see the little icon here next to the cell. You can actually click on this, and you can lock the cell price right on here. Click to lock and click to unlock. Also, you can change the discount. Right now, I have it displayed as a %, but if you click on the little arrow, it'll change to multiplier, or it'll change to compound, and if again, it'll just scroll through the selections and back to %. Also over here on the spec, you notice the little arrow. If you click on the spec, it's going to turn the spec wrap off, and it's going to show just minimal information instead of the entire spec. And this allows you to see more items on the spreadsheet instead of seeing the entire spec description as it does show if the spec is on. And moving to the far left corner here is the collapse. What this does, it allows you to collapse all the items. And this is for the items that have accessories. You'll no longer see the accessories, and they're hidden under the base item. And what it does, it makes it bold. You notice that these items are bold here, indicating that these items have hidden accessories, and other smaller items like these glasses, for example, that don't have any accessories are not bold. So by using the collapse all and the spec off, you can actually see a lot more items on your spreadsheet by turning these on and off. And then the last one on here is the item number. If you click on here, it's going to sort by item number. And it tells you it's going to sort by item number, and you say yes. And it's going to basically put them in whatever order you have. Now, if you wanted to renumber, you do have the renumber project selection up here. Simply click on that, and you can renumber it starting with whatever number you want, or maybe you want to make it A1, for example. It does know, it's smart enough to know you want A1, A2, etc. And it goes through the list and renumbers all of those items for you. Okay? Now, what I want to do is bring your attention down to the very bottom of the spreadsheet here. I'm going to just talk about a few of these tabs down here. The first one on here is the Manufacturer Summary tab. Now, what this allows you to do is to make changes at a manufacturer level. For example, you may have a big project and you have multiple items for this manufacturer. And let's say you have a need to change the discount. You can simply come here and change the discount, and it'll make that change for all of the items that belong to that manufacturer. Suppose you might want to add a markup only to this manufacturer and not the entire project. This is where you can do that as well. You can also flag it as free freight, and there are some other features on here that we go through on the advanced webinar, but you can also set your good until date. You actually have a drop-down calendar. You can select the good until date, and some other columns here to do a different functionality. And like I said, we do go through these a little bit more in the advanced webinar. Now, the other two that are listed on here, you have freight and PO. This is for the freight calculator and the purchase order tab. Now, by default, for a default user, you do not have permissions to see the freight and PO. Now, if you're an administrator, you do see these sections. Now, an admin can create a profile and allow you the permissions to see the freight and or PO if you needed these areas. So these permissions do have to be given to you to be able to access these areas here. Now, the other ones here for electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and utility and equipment, all this information starts getting populated automatically as you select your items from the catalog. You can, of course, come in here and make any changes or add anything on here. And this is to be used on like the cut sheet book report where it uses all this information. Also, you may have a need to maybe export this information. You can export it to Excel. For example, your contractor might need this information, so you can export that information and you know, use it to give it to somebody else if they needed it. Now, the last one I want to go through on here is the greetings and footnotes. And this is the place where you would use your shared greetings and your shared footnotes. And as I said, you do have to select them on a per project basis. And even right on here, you can create a new one, you can edit them, and basically you would double click on it to apply it to your project. Now, I do have them exaggerated here, the font size, so you can see them, but you would simply double click on here, and you can insert them on here. You can even write whatever text you want to directly on here, and when you print the report, it's going to show either as the greeting or footnote. So you can actually, on the fly, write anything you want on here or just create them as you go along. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump back to the spreadsheet area here. And one more thing I wanted to mention, and we're almost done here, is the My Review button. If you click on My Review button, which is found here on the spreadsheet and in the catalog, you can ask us a question, make a suggestion, or just give us any kind of feedback at all with this My Review button. Just write what you need to in here. You can even attach a snapshot or anything, and click on the Send button, and we'll get that, and one of our tech support people will get back to you as soon as possible with any questions or suggestions that you may have. And that pretty much wraps up the basic webinar for the new look. And now at this time, I want to go ahead and hand it over to Will and start with any questions that you may have on the new look.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you for the job well done. Appreciate it. And welcome, everybody. Let's jump right into the questions. Allison G. I'm new to the whole system. What exactly is the difference between the cart and the project as far as function goes? The difference, Allison, is when we're adding items to the cart, we are building up an inventory that we can add at one time onto the project, as Anthony displayed. And this helps so that you don't have to constantly keep going in and out of the catalog. If you have several different items you want to do, and you have those items, you can do them all at once by adding to the cart. And then when you're done and you have all your items, you can add them directly to the project by hitting one button. Saves you some time. Allison G's next question. And is the project function used per order? Good question, and thank you for that. And yes, that is correct. If you're going to create a project, it's basically those are the items that that particular customer wants. So yes, you would create a project per the items per the customer. Thank you for that question. Stephanie Phillips, how do you add an accessory to an item in a project? Good question. By selecting an item on your spreadsheet or on your project, I can go directly to the search bar and start searching for the item that I want. As I get into the catalog and my item displays, I will get a third choice that says Make Accessory. From here, I will select Make Accessory, and that item will be brought into the line item that I had previously selected as an accessory to that item. Thank you for that question. Sarah K., can you use the cart to add accessories? Sarah, yes you can. That's a good question. So if I were doing a major project and I had all my items already on my spreadsheet, I can then go back to the catalog and I can start selecting items and add them to my cart. As I add them to my cart, my last selection is going to be to make an accessory from the items that I have chosen. Note that when I make an accessory using items in the cart, all the items will be brought over as an accessory to the line item. So just make note that I would want to use that function if I had several items that I was going to accessorize to one item. Thank you for that question. Barbara F., can you go over renumber and sort item number features? Yes, we can. So renumber features. In your ribbon across the top, you will have a selection that says renumber project. We'll start with the first item, and we can use any number we want or any combination of number and alphabet. And we will renumber the non-active numbers if we want to or not by selecting the check marks and hit OK. Then the project is renumbered. Now, if Anthony will move one of the items just up for me or down, and I'll go over the sort. The sort feature is actually the toggle, it's not a toggle switch, the triangle to the right of item number, and that is a sort by item number. So if I have my items out of order, a 3 at the very top of the list, I can just hit the resort triangle. It will know that I'm just resorting my project, hit yes, and then the numbers will be placed back in order. Thank you for that question. Moving down, let me move my screen, I'm sorry. Woody and Judy, can we keep archives for more than 12 months? As a consultant, projects often go longer than a year. Yes, you can. Good question. So from our main screen, And in our filters, we have the ability to right-click on Archive and select a different month period that we would like to archive our projects. Now notice that when we change our archive, this will allow our screen to reflect that change. So I will see projects that were done in the last 24 months instead of 12. Thank you for that question. Woody and Judy also asked, how do we change the salespersons on a project? An originator left and we like to transfer their projects. That's a good question. Thank you for that. We do go over that scenario in detail in the admin, but for your purposes, if you look at the screen, Anthony has highlighted over the salesperson. At that point in time, he can just hit the X, which will remove that person from the project by hitting yes to make sure that that's what you want to do. You can then go in and type in the new salesperson's name or the person that's going to be taking the case as a salesperson. And when he finds a name in the drop-down list, he'll be able to select that. And he selected me, so I am now a salesperson on this particular project. Thank you for that. Woody and Judy also asked, can we renumber a portion of the project? That is a good question, and thank you for asking that because it's one of the new additions to the new look of AQ that has been installed. We have gone over the renumber, but if Anthony would highlight 3 or 4 different items on the project. And from this point, we can go to our renumber section, and we can use the drop-down arrow. If you go ahead and cancel that. We can use the drop-down arrow, and we can say renumber selected items. Just note that we have to highlight the items first that we want to renumber, and then we will use that drop-down choice. Thank you for that. Good question. Moving along, Mary G says, can you add the project details while in the project? Yes, we can. We have a toggle on and toggle off switch for the details. So while you're working in the project, you can toggle the details on and off, and you can manipulate or change any of your merchandise totals that you want while you're in the project by changing the figures there and then going in and out of the details panel. Thank you for that question. I don't see any hands raised at this time, Anthony. We are ready to take any more questions.
All right, great. Well, while we're waiting for anybody else to ask any additional questions, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you on our website here. If you go to aqnet.com, let me just move it over to from my other screen over here. If you go to aqnet.com, if you don't have the new look, you can get it right from here. And also, if you want to go to the video section on here, it'll display all the available videos for the basic webinar, like the one we just did, advanced admin webinars. And also, if you want to sign up for any upcoming webinars, we do have a free webinar section on here. And you can just pick accordingly to what we have on here and just sign up for any of the upcoming webinars that we have. So I guess if, Willie, if there's no more questions on there, please contact us at any time here with our phone number. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that information on here for you again.
Yeah, we have another question there, Anthony, but I'll wait until you paste the information.
Okay, well, there's our contact info again.
Okay, awesome. Woody and Judy ask, why can't we add a rep who was recently appointed? Seems we can only choose from your list. I'm not quite sure of the recently appointed part, but Woody, if we go back to our project and we were to add this information, the person's name in the customers and contacts, it is similar to starting a new project. If we type in the individual's name and they aren't in our list, we can simply hit enter, and then we will get the additional screen to add the person's information. Once we have done that and added the person's information, and we have selected them by hitting OK to finalize the process, we will then be able to, alongside their name, use the drop-down feature and assign them the position we want. Note that there can only be one salesperson on a project, So if you already have a salesperson, we would need to change that individual from sales to another position, and then our new person can then take the sales role. I hope that answered your question. Woody and Judy asked, an equipment or manufacturer's rep?
Well,
Woody,
if I could just add to that, when you have a manufacturer rep or anybody, if they use auto quotes and they choose to be published, it'll be in the contact section. So your customers and contacts, even the reps, are based off the information in your contacts. So you can do that. Now, down here at the manufacturer summary tab, you can pick a rep on here if you want to, and then it'll show like if you do a rep quote request. But all this information is in the contact section. So it's either in the contact section because it comes with auto quotes, or you can add it yourself. If they're an auto quotes user and they're a rep, a manufacturer rep or whatever, you should have them inside of your contacts, unless they chose not to get published. But for a rep, I would think they would. And you know, for this, we probably might be better just talking to you directly. If you could just call us after the webinar, the contact information I put on here, and we'll be more than happy to go through this with a little bit more detail with you or help you any way we can. And also, with the chatting back and forth, we may be losing the translation of what you're actually meaning. So hopefully we can just talk to you after the webinar and help you out with that. And well, Will, if there's no more other questions for this, I guess that's it for today. We appreciate you coming and spending this time with us. I hope you learned a little bit about auto quotes, and we hope to see you in one of our upcoming webinars coming soon. Okay, thank you very much for being here today. Have a good day.